All right, how's everybody doing? Welcome in, everybody. Today we are doing another Tired Table. Our guest is going to be Forest Street Pete, a fellow Star Citizen streamer, very chill, fellow low flyer as well. Make sure to go show him some love. His name is in the title. Make sure to click his name, drop him a follow. Much appreciated. And yeah, welcome in, everybody. Today's going to be a little bit different. Typically, I know it doesn't seem like it, but I prepare the podcast a minimum. Like I have like an outline of what I want to do. Today I didn't do any of that. Today's gonna be a bit more freestyle. So if it gets weird, it gets weird and we'll deal with it. The idea today is we're going to talk about kind of what's happened in Star Citizen since the beginning of the year, how it's feeling right now with the free fly, and then what we're looking forward to in the rest of the year, or if we're not looking forward to something. All right, everybody, without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in our guest. Welcome in, Pete. Pete is first time joining on the podcast.
I'm not in your studio. That was a nice studio we had there for a second. Now I'm assuming we're in Gaslight.
Yeah. No, this was Checkmate or Ruin. I forget. What are the two? But yeah, welcome in, Pete. It's the first time on the podcast. Thanks for joining. I'm going to start asking you a couple questions about yourself as a streamer, you know, how long you've been in the game, all that good stuff, and then we'll get into the juiciness of Star Citizen. So
Sounds good.
So how long have you been streaming? How long have you been playing Star Citizen? What brought you into it?
Dude, that's a good question. I actually saw, what did I see recently? I think I saw like my 10-year Twitch anniversary, which is just a lie. I think I like tried to stream at some point, like with a shitty webcam and like my little crappy PC. But I kind of got on TikTok like a year and a half ago and started posting stuff on there kind of infrequently. And then I think it was maybe about like a year and a half ago, I started actually doing streaming regularly, just playing Star Citizen. I've been in Star Citizen. I think I backed in 2016 was when I bought my Mustang Alpha.
Nice.
Even though everyone told me to get the Aurora because you could do box missions. And I took one look at both of those ships and I was like, do I want to fly a dog toy or do I want to fly like a fighter jet? And it was a pretty easy choice. So yeah, I still have my Mustang. I love it. But yeah, honestly, it was one of my friends that showed me the project before it was even really much of a thing. And what's funny is like I don't think he's played the game like yet, but he was
Really?
the one that kind of sold me, which is really funny. He was like, dude, the freelancer, it's just like the Firefly, dude. We could live out our Firefly fantasies. I was like, okay, I'm in.
That's
And I was the
funny.
only one that was in.
There's a lot of people actually who backed the game originally but never really got into it.
Yeah,
Um,
it's wild.
I love that really old clip of Angry Joe, uh, who's like showing the like pledge store on his stream and going, "I'm gonna back this game's gonna be great. It's supposed to come out in
Uh-huh.
2 years." That was in 2014. And that clip did not age well. But there's a lot of
Damn,
people like
dude.
that who backed originally and who either never had a PC to
Really out of high
play
school.
or forgot about
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
Some,
Or
but
just
no,
fell off the radar because it was like I don't know what it was. I don't remember like how the hype started before there was anything playable, but like enough people knew about the Kickstarter and I wouldn't have found it without like someone showing it to me, but I don't remember how that happened. But I don't know. It got so much hype and then enough people just forgot about it or, you know, became adults and like retired or something.
what's
I don't
funny
know.
about this game for me is I first discovered it back in like 2015, 2016, saw them kind of hyping it up, and then completely forgot about the game. I was reminded of it in 2019, right before COVID, and then finally got dragged into it in 2021 by a fellow streamer who's a Tarkov streamer who was like, "You got to check out this space game." And I was like, "Oh, you know Star Citizen?" I was like, "Okay, if you're going to jump in, I'll jump in." he bounced after 3 weeks and hasn't come back.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I've been here ever since. Um, and yeah,
I mean,
it's one of those weird ones.
it's kind of interesting. Like, it's so hard. I'm sure everyone has felt this. Like, it's so hard to pitch it to the right person. It's not one of those games that you can just like get any like your entire friend group to be like, dude, you're all gonna like it. Like, it's not one of those games. It's like you have to do like some mental calculus. Like, what is this person's personality type? He is more goal oriented. He likes to play games with lots of objectives. He's more about completing the game and being and getting all the points. This person's definitely down to just like play a little make believe and vibe out. So he might like Star Citizen, you know? Like, you can't just pitch it to everyone. You try your best to give like a general thing, but
No, it's pretty
you got to be pretty
divisive
precise.
because some people refuse to play games that are finished. Some people refuse to play games, like you said, that have no clear goal.
Yeah.
And then others, I think also one of the funny things about Star Citizen is you can bring people in at different parts of development. Like you said,
Mhm.
like the chill kind of like do whatever, make up your own thing guys. You can bring in pretty early on into the game because it's a sandbox, right? You make your own fun, you go do stuff and multi crew and all that, and it's a good time. Then the more oriented people towards like I need something to do, well they could start to come in finally with things like the ASD or Hathor or or contested zones with the exec hangers because well finally they had something to actually work towards, right? And
Yeah.
then hopefully once we get the story mode for Star Citizen, which probably, and I actually have a point to make about that later on, but which we probably won't get for a while.
Mhm.
Well, then you can bring in another set of players, and it's like, hey, you actually get to have the sandbox experience, a story-driven experience, and there's tons of things for you to do. So I think Star Citizen is one of those really rare random games where you can bring in different types of gamers along the way, and a lot of them will find something that they like.
Yeah. No, that's very fair. Like, it's so different pitching the game now than it was like when
Yeah,
I
2 years
telling
ago.
my close friends, yeah, like a year and a half ago or whatever. I was like, you just gotta like trust me. Just get on my spaceship. We'll go fly around. Just, you know, like be a connoisseur of video games in this experience because you gotta realize this is like there's no other experience like this. It's magic. It's pretty cool. Okay, there's not an end. There's not okay, like ignore the thing that just happened to you. Yeah, I know. Your backpack fell on the ground. Yeah, like pick it up, put it back on.
We'll
It's
get you
fine.
another
Just
one. It's okay.
we'll get you another one. It's fine. It's not important. It is important. That's my gear. It's all my loot. No, it's not important. None of it matters. What matters is look at the sunset. Look at the planets. It's
But
really
have you
pretty.
seen this ship?
Yeah, have you dude, did you press the button? Did you watch the thing go up and down when you press the button? But
But no, it's
But now there's like so much more stuff going on. Like
true.
there's the loot table's crazy, which is super fun. That's one thing that motivates me to like go out and do stuff. Like Hathor is a fun jungle gym full of fights and unpredictability and like it's kind of where the game is its best when you have no idea what's going on and what's going to happen next. But yeah, it's shaping, ever shaping.
Yeah. All right. So, okay. So we're now in mid February.
Yeah.
How do you. Okay. First question is how did you feel about the game overall last year? And then how do you feel about the game in the last month and a half since we started 2026?
Yeah, I mean, it's I would say this last year has been kind of insane. I mean, at the beginning of the year, we had, um, that long live from CIG that basically was talking about this going to be the year of stability, and because it's sort of hinted at like there's not going to be anything new, but everything's going to get really ironed out. But I feel like more stuff has come out this past year than almost any other like
Yeah.
in such a short span of time. In 1 year's time, I feel like we've had more new content while also like the game is more stable than it's ever been, with a few exceptions. Like a rough start to a patch here or there, but like, I mean, thinking back to pre-Pyro or like maybe even just the spawn of Pyro, like it is so much better. When Pyro dropped, it was a mess. Like you know, I mean, I think it kind of had to be like they prepared the best they could to introduce a whole new star system into the game, and they did it. The wormhole, worked. You got through. It worked. You were there, and then they're like, "Oh wait, how's the party system working? This is kind of weird. How does like accepting They had a lot of like rough edges to kind of iron out, but like now at the end of beginning of 2026, end of 2025, like it's kind of easy for me to forget how bad it was at the beginning and just be like, hey, the missions that never worked when I tried them just work, for the most part. I mean, yeah, I mean, this past year was like pretty insane with like where it started and where it ended. But at the end of the day, we're still in Star Citizen, so it's easy to like kind of get lost and think like the game is still overall a mess. But if you look back, it really does like there is a lot of improvement that's happened. As far as like this year, I mean, doesn't feel like a whole lot's happened. I mean, we had engineering, right? Engineering was that technically this year, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Shit, I don't
Or
even
no,
remember.
technically it was, I think, in a
Or was it
2025.
end of 2025? Yes, I mean engineering, big change into the game. I feel like it hasn't ruined the game, nor has it made it super crazy different, but I think it's still like stretching its legs a bit. People are starting to figure out like the importance of engineering and stuff like that, which is a pretty crucial thing that they just popped right in. And I feel like it was pretty seamless when it, you know, compared to how bad it could have been. But I mean, so far this year, it seems like, we'll have to see, I think, because crafting is really going to potentially like flip everything on its head, I think.
I think I'd put a caveat to engineering when it came in. There were
Mhm.
some issues that people were having, especially in the PTU. They did a pretty decent job of getting that cleaned up for the PU when it came out. It was a rough first week, but then it did get smoother. And actually, I feel like they may have toned it down, because I tried really hard to get my ship to catch on fire and it wouldn't. I was very disappointed.
I've yet to
Um,
see it.
Me too, actually. That's I've seen
Yeah.
people in videos and clips and stuff like on YouTube and all that, or other people stream, but I've actually yet to see a fire. Which I'm not necessarily saying like, oh, it's thumbs down because I haven't seen it yet. That's not the point I'm trying to
Mhm.
make. The point is, I think, well, like Cody says, the ability to continue a fight, assuming the NPCs or whoever's soft death you doesn't decide to you know
Just
murk,
pile on.
yeah, just pile on to make sure you go boom. It is nice to have a chance to get back out there. I say that is really well done. I agree that it was a lot smoother of an experience than other things we've got, especially when you were talking about at the beginning of 2025, which the hot mess that was the Pyro release. Now, that being said, I couldn't stop playing because all this new stuff I just wanted to go see and try out for myself. So I had no problem putting in the effort and the patience to get past. Okay, I take that back. I had problems putting in the effort and the patience, but I got through it because I was so interested in seeing what was coming out.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, I agree with you. The amount of content that was put in between February of 2025 and December of 2025 is more than we saw for, I don't know, the entirety of 2024, 2023, 2022. Like,
Yeah, it felt
wrap
like it,
yeah,
honestly.
wrap those all together, we saw a lot more. And I think that was really, really positive and probably also explains why they had their best financial year. Also, the monthly ship sales probably didn't hurt them. But no, overall, I have to agree. It really was. I still don't like that the year stability thing because it's much better, but compared to another MMO that's been out for longer. You know, it feels that most of them are much more stable. They just have to be, right? Because
Yeah.
to so many people, once DC gets out of hand, it's crazy. I will say that I think all those things that you said that were bugging out at the beginning of 4.0 is normal. When the fact that meshing came in and actually worked for the most part was super impressive. So yeah,
Yeah.
hats off to CIG for overall they did have a really positive 2025.
Hmm.
Uh, and Cody, you're that's just you, buddy. Impulse buying ships. I'm okay. I impulse buy things
I
to
see,
give
Cody.
away, but
I have a support group coming out, dude.
yeah, maybe we should create
Here's
a
a
hotline.
patch. Yeah, it's just a nicotine patch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just it's got a little Star Citizen logo on it.
Yeah.
But no, so all right, so overall, you 2025 you feel like was a pretty positive.
Yeah. I would say it's probably the most positive year that we've had in a long time, honestly.
And so, how do you feel about the start to 2026?
Um, I'm trying to think what even has happened in 2026 so far. I mean, it's only been a month and a half. So, we're looking at new inventory systems. Like, really everything is like looking down the scope, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's still hard to say how things are going to go. I mean, I'm on one hand, we have Nicks, and they're sort of drip feeding us Nicks, which I think is probably for the best, as we were all there for the Pyro release, which we just talked about. But like, um, it still feels like it still feels like they dropped Nicks and there was still like a bunch of problems, but they got handled quickly, So like, I don't know. I'm wondering like how important it is to actually just drip feed us Nicks, or if they should have just brute forced right through it, like Pyro, or if it was more of a thing to like, maybe it was just the best way to just keep content rolling out. It's like, hey, we can do Nicks if we want to just do this. Otherwise, we're not going to see anything for a long time until they have new Planet Tech, and they've got Nix 1, and they've got all the, everything that's coming with Nix ultimately. So I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I mean, I'm here for it. I think that they're doing pretty well. Like, Nix is a really nice backdrop for everything. I think it's going to be really cool. But I'm wondering if they should have just dropped the whole damn thing. I guess I'm kind of split. Like, I don't think I have too strong of emotion either way, but
So you
um
said you weren't sure of what came out. It's kind of funny because I have a similar feeling of a little underwhelmed at the start of the year. And I
mm,
think the reason why is because for me, and you kind of touched on this too, and this is one of the things about Star Citizen. It's super individualized in terms of experience. It's not necessarily everybody lives through the same thing, right? And what I mean by that is like I had two patches in a row, and then this last week's update we got completely bricked the game for me.
mm,
Um, we're in what 4.7, so in 4.4 I couldn't log in for 48 hours, couldn't play. 4.5 had a similar issue where I was actually able to get in. Something happened. I got shard locked. Same thing. Had to wait 24 hours to play. Um, and then 4.7, no problems on release. But then this update, something happened in the update where it bricked my install files and I kept getting errors and I ended up having to wipe the install file folder clean and reload everything in. Basically, reinstall the game. So for me personally, my intro experiences to the last few patches have been pretty rough, right? But I guess I can call myself a Star Citizen veteran at this point, having been in for 3+ years. Although maybe that's still like newbie territory compared to others. But the point being, you're used to a certain amount of these shenanigans, right? So you push through them. But it's still not pleasant to have to deal with that when things come out. So I feel like this beginning of the year has been a little underwhelming, but we had I think 4.6 dropped right at the end of I think it was beginning of January, and then we just had 4.7 drop. Um, I don't think 4.6 added in too much that was really memorable. Besides, wait, hold up, I gotta look it up now. Does anybody remember what dropped in Star Citizen 4.6?
Was that engineering? Or no. Was that shit?
Let's go read the patch notes.
I'm on it. The moth.
Okay, 4.6 patch notes. No, we're in 4.6. It's 4.5. Sorry, that I'm thinking of.
Ah, okay.
Yes, Dex is right. I was like, where's 4.7? It hasn't come out yet. Release notes. What did we get? It was engineering.
5 was engineering. Yeah.
Ships and vehicles, snubfighter, interceptor, balancing, weapons and item, physicalized helmets. That was cool. I will admit, it's something so small and so stupid, but it is so cool to like take your helmet off and hold it and then put it on your belt and then put it back. It sounds really dumb and it's tiny detail,
CIG is so good.
but
at
that's
literally just dropping the smallest thing and having it just be like a hallelujah moment. Like when I heard that like org, like more social tools are in the works this year. The amount of like, just it is going to be such a breath of fresh air to have any social tool upgrade or integration, and it's going to be the simplest thing ever that should have been in the game for so long, but it is that maybe it's on purpose.
So I think it was a bit of an oversight on their part because, and I was watching somebody's video. I forget if it was Space Tomato or one of them or Salty Mike, but the point is when before Pyro, right, and before server meshing, max server size was like 120. I think they tried an experiment with 140, 150 a few times, but most of the time was at 100 people, right? So global chat could handle that amount of traffic, right? And then people who teamed up naturally gravitated towards Discord. I think it was an oversight because you go from 100 to 600 to 700 people in a shard, and globals. I mean, I don't know. Actually, it reminds me. You guys all remember global was pretty much broken for like 2-3 months, or for like at least a month, maybe 2, and it wouldn't always work. You couldn't select like the different chats, like party chat, stuff like that. There was a lot of issues around it. They got all that ironed out and kind of fixed, but still, the global chat and the party chat just couldn't handle parties of 200 people or massive amounts of people talking in global in one spot. Also,
while having VoIP on or all the other things that go with it.
So, and lately VoIP has been broken, and that's been really frustrating because one of the cool things in Star Citizen is having those VoIP interactions. Like, don't shoot, I'm friendly, I swear. And it's when you don't have those tools, it's super frustrating. So yeah, it is a huge plus to know that those social tools are finally coming. But I got sidetracked. Originally, what I wanted to ask you was, so we know that we got engineering and stuff. The other thing we got here at the beginning of the year is this event. How do you feel about Alliance Aid? And for those of you who don't know, Alliance Aid is an event going on in Star Citizen where essentially the new space station of Vletsky, which isn't new, but yes, it's new in the game now in Nyx, has a mold issue. We have to help them by bringing resources or killing people because somehow they have something to do with the mold. But essentially it gets split into 3 categories of contracts you can do. Transport, which is simple cargo hauling. Collections, which is bringing them cargo that you already have or have gotten somewhere else or have bought. And then the third one is just, like I said, going to kill or defend people who are being attacked by some new group of baddies. So yeah, so that's Alliance Aid. It's a lot of rep is needed to fill up each one, and there are rewards along the way at 10%, 70%, no, 30%, 70%, and 100%, I think, or 90, I forget. But yeah, that's Alliance Aid in a nutshell. So how are you liking the event? Because it's still going on.
I'll let you know when I try it. I when I when I learned what the missions were and I saw the rewards, I I was like, I think I might just sit this one out, to be honest with you. I mean, I the most interesting things that have been added to this game have been pretty much anything but missions, in my opinion. I won't say that's 100% true. Like missions can be fun, if you're doing it in a group or if you're doing it in a unique way or you're utilizing different game elements to make it more fun. But just going and looking for red Doritos to shoot and then move on to the next thing is it's kind of getting played out. So like I have not had any motivation to really do those missions. If I owned a Hermes or if I owned an Apollo or whatever else, like got a paint for something. I mean, I know there's like the Max Lift tractor beam or whatever gets a skin, but there was just I mean, there's more compelling things for me to do in the game right now that I've really like didn't spend a lot of time doing, like executive hangers and stuff and running those. Like just other things. And like once I heard the event, I was excited. I was like, okay, cool, new stuff. And then once I realized it was just uh tractor beam clanging boxes around the cargo hull of my ship.mp3 emulator for some of the missions, I was out. I was like, I did enough supplier die to make my entire bloodline rich. So I'm good on that. I don't want to grind anymore. Grinding, it's just not fun. So like, I mean, I'm sure there's probably some elements to those missions that are cool, but until they fundamentally like change the formula a bit with some of the missions, I'm not super intrigued with doing them. So I haven't done any of it really.
Well, you might be
What are you what's your experience with it so far?
you
How's it
might
been for
be
you?
on you might have done the right thing. No, so I knew as soon as I read the details of the event, it was going to be a tough one because, like you said, Supply or Die was still oh so fresh in my memory. Um, Now, I will say this is not as buggy as Supply or Die was. Supply or Die was made more difficult by how buggy it was, but I would actually argue that the Supply or Die missions were more enjoyable than what we have right now in the Alliance state. And the contracts in Alliance right now are super straightforward. It's take this cargo from point A to point B, it's bring this cargo to here, and it's go protect this ship or go kill these dudes. And there's no FPS in this one, which there was a little bit of FPS in the Supply or Die. There was also the fact that they were doing it in Pyro, which added a PvP element to it. The problem of like, well, while I'm doing this and loading my ship, anyone can show up and destroy me, which added another little level to it. Now, I think some people may not like that, and I know we have a big PvE community in this game, which is absolutely fine. Um, but I think the point I'm trying to make is the more elements you add to a mission, that can influence how that mission, contract, whatever you want to call it, goes, quest essentially. The better they get, even if sometimes they may get a little rough. You know what I mean? Um,
Mhm. Yeah, no, I mean, like, that's always the case with this game. I mean, like, I still stand by that the Hathor sites have been the best addition to this game. Like, I mean, we used to have to wait for Jumptown to be a
yeah.
thing for anything interesting to happen. For people that have been around long enough to have experienced all the missions. I mean, how I look at missions is it's basically just it's just like the missions are essentially a tutorial of what the greater game could be. Like when you um, first learn how to bring cargo up from your elevator and put it in your ship, and like how it's all physical, and then you go deliver it somewhere. In the back of your mind, you're thinking like, "Oh, I could just get shot by another player." Like, when you're new, like I
Yeah.
could get shot by a player on my way to this thing. Does that happen? Like, I guess it could. And then it just gets your gears turning. So, like, being introduced to cargo is like, okay, that's how cargo works. Like physical things inside my ship, interesting. Then you go do a bounty mission and you go figure out how to dogfight and oh, I disabled the enemy ship, so I could technically like float over there if I wanted to. Oh, I can actually like go inside this AI ship and like loot their body. And oh, there's a whole FPS scene with looting. Like, and it's when all of those things come together and you start mixing and matching and start playing with all the toys that are in the sandbox in your own way that it just makes the game that much more enjoyable. So like you can turn a large bounty mission into something that's more fun when you learn how salvaging works. And then you're like, wait, could I just salvage whatever ships I want? And then you learn you can. And then you're like, okay, well, what if we did just normal bounty missions, but we brought a salvage ship also? And then someone brought out a cargo ship and they went and sold the stuff that we salvage and we're also getting money. It's like when everything just combines into one thing is when the game shines. And I feel like they just need to just there just needs to be more of that. There just needs to be more of that. Like the threat of being in pyro, that alone just opens things up to like I need protection or I need to rethink my strategy. I can't just point my quantum drive at the bright blue circle and go there and then do the thing with like just music blasting my head and not paying attention to anything. It's like it makes the game feel that much more alive. So like I don't know. I mean, that's like really when the game shines, and when we start just like introducing more missions that kind of feel like just literally point A, point B, drag boxes out. Like we've got that. Like even the new players have plenty of opportunities to do tons of that. We need
And
to
make a lot of
like,
money doing it too, because they have adjusted the
yeah.
payouts, which is nice. There's other problems with the economy in Star Citizen right now, which is a separate discussion. But I have
Hmm.
to agree. Like, I think it's way more enjoyable and really highlights all of the unique things this game can do when you have missions that are built towards, I'll use the Valacar as an example. You have to fly over there. You can't get too close or goodbye ship. So you land, you have to clear out a place, wait for a tram, take the tram over. Then you have all these things to do, opening up hangars, setting your spawn, clearing rooms out, getting keys and stuff you need. That's that's one of those missions like Hathor where it starts to become really enjoyable because you have these goals you're working towards within this sandbox event, right? That's constantly
Hmm.
open to everybody. One of the things that I would just, really simply, I don't think it really adds too much for them to do, but I would love to see a contract or something, an event where, all right, fly here, but make sure you have a vehicle with you can drive, or make sure you have like quads that you can use, because you're not going to be able to fly your ship. You'll have to drive over here. You find a cave, use your tools, repair something. Like once they start having that, where it's just you have a reason to carry like an Ursa in the back of your ship, with you, or you have a reason to have a dragonfly or a hover quad with you, because actually, and we did this together, I think, with Dex, is when you go do the QVs and Nyx, right? One of the ways you can circumvent having to fight the second group of fighters is if you have like a dragonfly or a hover quad and you fly around and go investigate the blown up ships to find, I forget what it is you're looking for, a key card to open a door or something.
Yeah, key card or whatever. Yep.
Um, that becomes fun because, well, now I have a reason to have that other ship, and it adds another layer of gameplay of like, well, now I'm playing with something different. And honestly, hover quads and dragonflies are stupid fun to fly.
Yeah.
They're they were like, that's actually something the first time I was like, wait, why don't we use these more? I was like,
Hmm.
wait, these things are great. So there are things like that that I think they can implement that would make for chaining certain parts of missions together that would feel a lot more rewarding. And I mean, like you said, you can go mining, and just have somebody bring a C2 full of empty bags, and then people are mining, you're swapping out, you're getting money, somebody's selling cargo at the same time, and then somebody's having to swap out the saddlebags and all of that. So like it just adds these layers of like, well, I'm not just doing the same stupid thing over and over and over again.
Yep.
It's little nuances, and then all the shenanigans that come with, we just lost a bag, somebody died, they fell out of the ship, and that's where the fun comes in, and that's not supposed to happen,
Mm-hmm.
yes, but it does. So you
My
got
favorite
it.
moments are when I'm at Hathor and like I land, I get out, I start looting, I'm shooting guys, and then I turn around and someone's blown up my ship and there's like a Polaris just hovering above. And I'm like, I could either be super pissed and ready to just like, all right, well, I guess I'm screwed here, or the like Star Citizen problem solving MacGyver brain kicks in, and I'm like, I've got a multi tool and I've got a pistol. How am I getting off the planet? And then the Polaris lands, the cargo bay opens. I use some there you just it's such a sandbox. Like those are my favorite experiences ever. Like, and that just doesn't happen, you know, doing just a normal mission where it's like, all right, your goal is to make this ship explode, and then that's it. But
Yeah. Well, that
I
was one
love it.
thing that was a
That's the
lot of
stuff.
fun when it first started happening with physicalized cargoes. You'd go do bounties or Vaughn missions, and you would purposely try to soft death them so you could steal all the cargo and then go
Yes.
make a bunch of money that way. And that was fun because you're using all the tools, all the features that we have access to in the game. So to get back to Alliance Aid, I think Alliance Aid is a miss in terms of like purely what the contracts are and what you're doing, but it takes on a different aspect and becomes a lot more enjoyable because everyone's trying to do it in a group. I mean, we did see, I don't know if you noticed this, but there were groups of up to 200 people per shard that were forming and sharing all the contracts, and people were doing all this stuff. Like, there's video out there of like 50 people in a hangar unloading boxes and stuff like that.
That's
It's
actually awesome.
that was fun. You know what I mean? Like, I went out with Hobbit, Sigelian, Digit, all those people. We all got into the Idris and just all together went out and did it. Now it was insane. It was chaos, but it was fun chaos. Um, and they understood, at least with this event, that you have to let these rewards be shareable amongst everybody. Everyone has to get a piece of it, because one of the things that's so frustrating with Star Citizen, and they used to do this a lot, is they force everyone to have to do that contract themselves. So you couldn't just share things amongst each other, which kind of ruined the gameplay for orgs, where it's like, well, these guys are good at this, these guys are good at that. Why do they have to go do what they don't enjoy, and these guys have to go do what they don't enjoy, when the entire point of playing as a group, as a big org, is to have people who kind of find their niche and what they enjoy doing within the game.
Yeah,
Now, I'm not
absolutely what they
saying that,
specialize in.
yeah, people should just specialize and never touch anything else. No, that would be a shame for everything else the game has to offer. But yeah, it's a great point, Tech Cat. Like, that was so frustrating to me for so long with Star Citizen, and now like, that's one of the reasons why grinding rep for just bunker missions, good old fashioned bunker missions, right? Like the first thing you ever got to do in the game, if you've been playing for more than 3 years, that was somewhat enjoyable. The rep not being shared and being divided by the amount of people playing. So actually, it takes you longer to level up the more people you have in a group. But this game wants you to play in a group.
Hmm.
So now I'm being punished for playing in a group. That part I never really truly understood, and I hope they completely go away from that. Because if you guys actually want this to be an MMO, make it an MMO. You know what I mean? Like, let us
Yep.
actually get all the fruits of playing together instead of having to divide everything up. So for me,
That's
uh, Alliance Ada was a bit of a miss, but I've been having fun helping people out and get through them and all that. So
I'm actually just remembering like when I did get some of my close friends into the game and I thought it was gonna stick. There's a point where I would like hop in, join up with them, and they're like, "Hey, actually, like, just I'm gonna disband the party because I'm really close to like getting this thing done and I don't want to share the
yeah,
mission. So like, just hold on." I was like, "Oh, this is crazy. I invited you into my world. Now you're doing missions, and now we're realizing their goal oriented efficiency brain was like, actually, let's not link up and all fly in the Cutlass Black and you hang out the side of the door while, Fortunate Son is playing. Actually, I would rather just, it's actually quicker if I just spawn this shitty ship that I don't actually care about, get there quicker, and then do the thing. And then, like, I'll get more XP and whatever. But yeah, no, that is a good point. I remember that was like actually a point of contention with some of the friends. It was like, why are we sharing missions? Like, we're just screwing ourselves over here. So it's nice that they're not doing that at least.
So yeah, missions were a bit too simple. Lore wise, I know they're trying to introduce a new gang. I think it could have been done better. Obviously, that's an easy comment to make, but because this just felt a little lazy. Like, we need to find an event. Oh, we're just gonna have them do a bunch of grindy stuff, and I never like that typically. I'll grind when there's a good reason to grind. Like, I'll use Warcraft as an example. World of Warcraft. I don't mind grinding sometimes in that game, even though I can't do it forever. It drives me insane. But I'll do it because I'm going after a certain piece of gear that has high stats, or I'm trying to unlock something that gives me access to a new game loop or to a new dungeon, or higher tier delves, or getting enough gear and being ready to go do a raid. Like, that makes the grind worth it, in my opinion. In Star Citizen, the grind is purely to keep you going or
Yeah.
have something to do, right? Now, I will contradict myself, or go against myself for a second and say Wicklow is something to work towards, right? The Wicklow
Yeah.
Polaris, the Wicklow items, the Wicklow armor, weapons, the Idris, which, I mean, who's not going to try to go after Wicklow Idris, right? It may take you 2 years, but you'll eventually want one. But
And hopefully you
and
can keep it. That would be
yeah,
awesome too.
that's the thing, is actually the Wicklow stuff I probably won't go to until 1.0, or unless it's like with the org, right? And it's not a big
Mhm.
not a big deal. So I like that stuff's in there. I think it's great, but having to do it over and over again just to grind it, and without really being able to keep a hold of stuff, because no matter what, in 1.0 we're wiping. No matter,
Yeah.
a lot of people get really upset with wipes, and I completely understand it. I myself personally like when things wipe because I like that fresh start. It's one of the things I loved with Tarkov, is when they would wipe, is like, okay, that new feeling of, okay, I need to go do this, and like all these little steps you need to
Hmm.
take, get through. So that was always fun. But because there's nothing I'm truly trying to achieve yet in Star Citizen, and money has become kind of just a joke because it's
Totally.
everywhere. Everyone has it, without having to go into like the problems with the economy and duping and all that stuff, and people who have taken advantage, and people who just have billions upon billions upon billions upon billions, like,
Hmm.
which is kind of an issue. That, I mean, making money was the goal, right? To get more ships, to play with the different ships and try them out. Once
Right.
somebody gives you like 300 million and you've bought everything, like
Nothing. I am. Oh man, the amount of people that'll come into the chat and they're like, "Hey, I just started today, and someone gave me 350 mil. What should I buy?" And I'm just like, throw it away, all of it, every penny. Forget that you have it, because I promise you, the game will be so much more rewarding if you actually go and, one, learn how to do all the things in the game by doing the missions, and then you slowly earn money and yada yada yada. But like, God, yeah, it's rough, and like, that's always like, it's always easy to spot someone who's not going to last very long in the game when, like,
yeah.
they say something like that, when they're like, "Hey, I'm new to the game this week. What's the best way to make money?" It's like, okay, I understand that there's not many carrots on strings in this game, and money's kind of the only one, but like, just don't don't get in that mindset yet.
I
You got
think
time. You got
if
time.
you explain to new players that they should be looking to get money so they can have enough of a baseline of gear, weapons, ammo, armor, so that they can do the fun stuff, like, hey man, if you make this much money, you have this set aside, you buy these things, you can do this, this, and this on repeat and have a lot of fun. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
And then explain to them the grind to go get the better tiered components. The greatest thing I think they added in was the exec hangar with being able to get a ship, right?
Yeah.
I think
Thousand
that is one
percent.
of the greatest things they've added in so far for sure. But I think Cody made a great point. I think and I 100% agree with this. And for me, I think it'll make the grind worth it is base building and crafting, not just standing alone, but together.
Hmm.
Now I've got a reason to go mining all the time. I've got a reason to go salvage. Hey, I just blew up my ship by accident, but wait, hold up. I'm going to go get a salvager, scrape my hull clean, and then I can now use that to go build this stuff because I need to make this new building because I want to be able to manufacture this. Like, yes,
Huge.
absolutely huge. And in a
Yeah.
game like this, that makes all the difference, right? I think once that is in, I think that'll be the moment, like we were talking about earlier. Is like you go to your friend group and be like, "Okay, you guys, we're all hating. Check this out. What do you think of this now?"
Hmm.
Like, oh wait,
Yeah.
what? We can do that, but wait, I can make one of those. Like, then the conversation starts to get a lot more interesting, and it'll be great. The exec hangers
Yeah.
are wait 420. You don't know what those are? All right, so you know about the contested zones, right? So for those of you who may not know what this is, if maybe you're more of an industrial player or you just don't have a desire to go do a lot of combat. Oh, you're new? All right, no worries. So for anyone who's new and who doesn't understand what we've been talking about, I've been talking a lot of the in-game events that you can do in Star Citizen, and they're like sandbox activities basically. And contested zones are something that came in with 4.0 on Pyro, and they're these three areas you go into, you clear out of NPCs and sometimes players, in order to get the keys you need to then get access to loot rooms that have comp boards, these data pads essentially that you need to collect from all three of the contested zones in order to go to this exec hangar where when you take all seven of those data pads, assuming you don't get killed by another player, you can put them into a computer, open up a hangar, and you will get a free ship. And it is either a Sulin, a F7A, a F8, a Cuddy Black, a Corsair, and I think that's it. Or I may be missing one. But you,
Meteor now. There's
oh, the
Meteor we
Meteor.
got the other
Ooh,
day, which is pretty cool. I think maybe the Guardian. There might be a Guardian variant in there
That's right. I
too.
forgot they
Maybe.
added ships. So there's ships you can
Which
get, and
that's
they
cool
you
too.
own them in the game. Like they're yours. Doesn't go away theoretically with the next patch. In the
Right.
past, people were
Fingers
losing
crossed.
them. I have never lost an exec ship that I've earned throughout patches, even with all my other little issues. So I've been fortunate there. But yeah, so that's what an exec hangar in a contested zone is. But yeah, those type of events in game are really worth it. Now, we've talked about 2025, talked about the beginning of the year, talked about the event. Now let's talk about 2026, well, the rest of 2026, and what we think is going to happen. What are your what is it you're most looking forward to happening this year? What is it you're least looking forward to happening this year? And yeah, let's start with that.
Yeah, I think what I'm most looking forward to is more like whatever the is it Rock Breaker, Rock Cracker, Rock Smasher,
Rock Breaker.
Atom Smasher. Yeah.
Smash.
Yeah. Right. Whatever that is. I if it's anything like Hathor, just with different loops and different things to do, I think that's going to be a smash hit because again, like my favorite thing has been Hathor, and if it emulates any of that energy with that high of a payout and high tension, different different setting, different. I think that's just going to be awesome. Crafting. I'm like I feel like I'm very just like hands off Just need to wait. I don't really know what I want crafting to be. I don't know. It's hard for me to picture this game with crafting and like having that be a core method of obtaining things or producing things, or are we going to lose our items now? Are we going to have to craft our items? Like, I know that there's probably iterations of like how that's going to progress, but I don't know. I don't know if I can really look forward to that without really just seeing it. Like, it's because right now, I mean, when they introduced like the tier 0 item
For
recovery, whatever
looting,
they
yeah.
call it. Yeah, for looting and like your stuff. I was on the fence. I wasn't sure how. I didn't really have much of an opinion. I was like, I mean, yeah, you're not gonna be able to loot players, but it kind of got boring looting the same Marazov heavy armor set that they bought from Grimhex over and over again. Like, there wasn't anything to loot, so it wasn't a big deal. It was really nice to just be able to wear the cool shit that we found, or maybe the stuff that we bought. So I like that. So we have the two extremes, and now we're potentially going to be somewhere in the middle that I just can't really visualize. I know I want it. I know I want crafting. I just like Cody said. I mean, any additional carrot to be put on the end of the string, like the more motivation to do the things, whether it's mining for very specific rarities or something of materials, is going to be interesting. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess I can't really picture like what my ideal situation for crafting is, but I mean, I think I'm most looking forward to stuff like the new event, whatever that is, the new Hathor, the Nyx Hathor
Rockbreaker.
is probably what I'm Rockbreaker. That's what I'm most looking forward to. I think like that we will see this year. I mean, base building again. That's another one where I'm like, yes, the big grand picture of base building is great because again, it's a new thing to do. It's a new reason to collect resources. It's a new reason to like break out that mining ship you bought 3 years ago because you wanted to try mining, but since then you're like, well, it's just another means to make money, so I don't really care. But now it's like I need 80 million SCU of tungsten so I can build a giant, you know, phallic structure on the surface of Ignis for us to all fly around, or whatever the motivation is. Like, that's worth it. But again, I don't know, like, what's rating gonna look like. Do we have to defend it? Is there upkeep? Is there all this stuff? Those are the things I have no clue, and I kind of am like, I guess I have to just leave it to the hands of CIG and wait and see, because I can't picture it. It's hard to picture.
I'd
So it's
say
weird.
the biggest caveat to add for things coming in game is what you see when it first comes out is not what it's meant to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
It's the
100%.
first iteration of it. So what are you not looking forward to happening?
Um, Gosh, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to picture what I'm not looking forward to. Like, I've rarely been super upset with anything that's happened in the game. Like, there's not been any huge like misses for me from CIG, other than like, oh, this patch, it feels like everything's broken and then it gets fixed or whatever. Like, I don't know. Like, I think my head's kind of in that same place where like you just said, where this is the first iteration of whatever. It's kind of easy for me to just exist in the now and just like, all right, this is how crafting works and whatever. It's so hard for me to think like there's really nothing that I'm looking at in the future where I'm like, this is going to ruin the game, because I think it's easy to just
Well, I mean, it could
kind of
be also.
doomsay.
I'm not looking forward to. For me personally, I hope we don't get another year that's so heavy on. What are we whining about? Sorry, dog is a whiner. Wait, what was I saying? So no, I hope one of the things I don't appreciate too much from CIG, but I understand its necessity is the amount of ship sales. Um, because you clearly get the idea that and the sentiment that it's really, you know, that's a big important thing for their development every year is continuing to push ship sales, which makes sense because I'm sorry, 1 second.
Hmm. Get the taser out.
I am not Hassan Piker. No, you're a good girl. Okay, no more whining. All right, please. Thank you. All right, watch her start whining in 2 seconds. What up, Hobbit? No, yeah, exactly. She works for CIG. She's like, he's bitching about Star Citizen. This is not allowed. Yeah, she clearly loves it when I buy ships. You know that means less money for toys, right? But I'm just saying. No, I think it's important, but it's always a little frustrating because we're still in development. You'd like for them to, you know, clearly we'd like to see them all really focusing more on the development of the game rather than, you know, us having 200 ships that a lot of variants and you know I'd say there's probably about a strong dozen, maybe 2 dozen that everybody uses that are I hate to use the word meta, but that are
No, 100%. Yeah.
more worth your time than others, right?
Yep.
Spoiler. She's so spoiled. Are you kidding me? But what was I gonna say? By the way, everybody, please go show Hobbit some love. She had surgery today. She's in recovery. We all wish her the best. Hope she's feeling good and all right. And so just go drop her some love, and yeah, we hope you have a speedy recovery. Thanks for coming to hang out. I hope you're not too zonked out. But no, so getting back to this game, what was I trying to say? Sea Dog. Oh yeah, ship sales. I hope it doesn't become to a super another focused on sales year, which I can at least, you know, I guess I'm making a bit more of a stink about that than I should because it is how they fund the game. That's fine. I think I'm more okay with it now, actually, now that I think about it a little bit more and I'm saying things out loud since Ashes of Creation took a dump.
I was just about to say, man, like it's yeah.
Uh, you know, there are definitely comparisons to be had between the two projects. However,
Hmm.
they are run very differently. Um, I was having this conversation with a buddy the other day. Is like when we are talking about Ashes, is like you know Ashes. They clearly, Steven, it was clearly a interesting character. You know, I'm not going to make any allegations or get myself in any trouble, but it's not defamation to say that, you know, he kind of fucked up running that company. It's pretty much it's a shame because I think overall they had raised. I think they had one guy come in with 80 million. They had raised over 3.5 on Kickstarter. Uh, it was a well-funded game. They had also were trying to promise something super ambitious like Star Citizen. But anyways, the fact that that failed because they also had strong monetization. They also had, you know, here's a $250 pack for you to play alpha test whatever.
Hmm.
And, you know, I forget the prices of like the gear and like mounts and stuff like that, but they were incredibly high too.
Yeah.
Um, but that game completely failed. Mismanagement of money clearly. A lot of details are coming out, and that guy was clearly shady. Anyone who has strong ties to crypto bros, I just stay away from personally.
It's only a matter of time before they
It really
get the crypto
is.
rot.
How many people had friends 3 years or 4 years ago who are going, bro, NFT is the way. I'm gonna play this game. I'm gonna make so much money just off of this thing from this game.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Where are you now? But
I'm gonna shake my phone for Sweat Coin. Do you remember Sweat Coin? Did anybody con you into Sweat Coin?
no, I never got
It
conned
used
into
your
a coin.
phone's pedometer to like track your steps, and it like actually mined some sort of stupid crypto thing. I don't remember. That's the one I can think of.
That's hilarious. But I mean,
No, but you're
like I
totally
had
right. Like I don't know. Like I sometimes that's the easiest rebuttal to anyone that comes in and is like, oh my gosh, they've raised $1 billion and it's 10 years and blah blah blah, and it's never gonna happen. It's pipe dream. I'm not like, they're a profitable company. You know what I mean? CIG
Stars. Oh yeah,
is
absolutely.
is making a profit, and like, if you know, you can't be too mad. Like, yeah, it can feel really egregious when like a ship drops, or the pre-sale of it's one price and then it drops and the ship is overpowered and then they sell it for more and then it's like a patch later they kind of nerf the ship, and those things are kind of icky. But like,
But I feel like
man,
there's less of that actually, or at least because I haven't been chasing the new ships, I haven't had that feeling, to be honest. Like, I'll try the ships when they come out in game, or if somebody in my community or another community is like, "Hey, do you want to try this out?" And I love that, and that's one of the best parts about
mm-hmm.
Star Citizen is how great this community is and how
Yeah.
generous they are with everything they do. Um, like Hobbit, for example, like she was organizing groups, even though she had finished the event long ago, she was still helping people out, making sure everybody got through it and they got all the stuff done. And then, so there really is a sense of camaraderie and,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
And the
just
fact that you can do that in this game,
yes.
like, hey, let me pull a ship for you or whatever, just help you. There's like no limitations in that regard. But yeah.
I mean, I think Cody sums it up really well. He says it's how they fund the game, but as long as they don't abuse the player base with it, whatever that means. I agree with that. I think as long as what we're paying into because people love the game, they love the company, or they just think our ship or gear is really cool and they want it, as long as that money is being well spent on the development of the game, I think most of us will end up being absolutely okay with it. The
Yeah.
the reason why Ashes is such a great counterexample is because they clearly did not manage their funds in a way that inspired the player base or kept them going year on year as they were developing. One of the things I didn't like about Ashes is their content creator program where the referrals were going to pay you out in IRL cash as soon as the game released. And so it gave the incentive for a lot of people to push the game when they probably wouldn't have necessarily done that because
Mm.
they saw that as a financial gain or some form of, plus. And I mean, if you're a big streamer and you've got thousands of people and you can get just a couple hundred to sign up, man, that could be a decent size of cash.
Yeah.
um, and it's not negligible. So that is something that I don't like. I like that Star Citizen hasn't done that. um, and I think there are ways to go about promoting your stuff that is less than ideal for staying polite, if not to say just downright scummy.
Yeah.
And you got to think about what your community is about, right? Like we were just saying, Star Citizen's community is an incredibly nice, generous, and patient community who also is the best community at finding workarounds. Nobody is better. Um,
Dude, I always say that, like, if you play Star Citizen for a year, you're allowed to put that on a resume for like an IT job, like
yeah.
for sure.
You want to do
Just
game
played Star
testing?
Citizen.
What makes you qualified to do Q&A? I played Star Citizen for over a year. Oh, you're here. Come on
On it.
in.
You're the lead of IT now.
Yeah, exactly. Here's a raise. No, I'm kidding. But no, that is, so I hope, I guess it's still a valid, concern. Is I hope that this year doesn't turn into a heavily monetized year because last year was so successful. Um, Shit, I think what I'm looking forward to the most this year is Squadron 42, and that is also a part of what I don't want to see this year. Is I don't want to see that not come out. I want
Fair.
that to come out. I don't. I I think it's so important that we get that game finally. It would mean
I
so much to this community and to going towards CIG's credibility as a company. Now, obviously, there's the caveat of the game has to be pretty good, right? At least good.
It's gotta
We're
be
not
spotless.
talking about great, but it has to be at least good, right?
At
So,
least spotless. I'm I want the game to be like, I'm not expecting to spend more than 8 hours playing the game, probably, right? Because it's gonna be a movie essentially. But if they can, if it's going to be very refreshing if we can see just a 100% beginning to end, just polished experience from CIG. I think that alone is like all it needs to be. Doesn't need to be the best game in the world. Doesn't need to be like game of the year. It just needs to be an example of Star Citizen in a pure, unglitchy, undesyncy, because we're not working with servers. Like, I want to play that game. I want to play Star Citizen offline and see how everything works really, really perfectly. And I think if they can do that and kind of give us a little taste of like, hey, this is what we're working on, I think that's going to be pretty important.
I agree 100%. I think it doesn't have to be the greatest thing in the world. And, I will say we have to be careful as Star Citizen players and try to remove that from the equation because it has to be at least a pretty good game. But I hear you when you say, I want to see what Star Citizen is in a single player environment without all the server issues, without the meshing, without the desync, without the thick air, hopefully. Oh my God, if there's thick air in single player. Oh, anyways, we're not going that way. Like,
No.
but if we can have a 60 plus FPS stable experience in the game without any game breaking bug that happens through your playthrough, well, they would be able to stand on their pedestal and look down at AAA studios and be like, we did it. We did it. I
Yeah.
mean, I've been replaying Fallout New Vegas. I had to spend an hour modding it just to play it so it doesn't crash every 5 minutes. So I feel like if you deliver a stable game, you're already miles ahead of Bethesda.
True.
If you give us a single player that doesn't have a loading screen every 2 minutes, you're miles ahead of Starfield. If you give us a semi decent story, all us Mass Effect fans will totally love you for it because we want a space opera. Man, Mass Effect fans have been, in the doghouse for
Starving.
years. We get nothing. Like, we
Yep.
get these random posts on N7 Day, just get everybody hyped about the game again. You'll play the Legendary Edition for a couple weeks and then go back to being depressed that there isn't a new Mass Effect soon. But that's just me being a massive Mass Effect fan. But the point is, if you can, there's an entire audience of people who are dying for a good space game because we
Yeah.
have some on the way. We have Exodus on the way from the people who used to work at BioWare. Wow, spacing out on the name. BioWare, who worked on Mass Effect, who are now doing their own thing. You've got. I'm not at all interested in Naughty Dog's project, although I will, probably give it a try. But what's it called?
Mm-hmm.
Intergalactic
I have no idea.
something, galactic space bald woman, whatever. I forget what it's called.
Lo-fi hip hop vibe. Girl that's in
Retro.
a spaceship. Retro, sitting in a spaceship with
Yes,
things floating. Yes.
that game.
Yeah, we're on the same page. That one. Yeah.
Cody, man, I cannot say enough good things about Mass Effect, and especially that Legendary Edition. They did a really good job on it. Credit where credit's due. That was a really good remaster. And if you've never played through all three Mass Effect, oh man, you are in for a treat. Just got to get into that story, and then you're hooked, and you're gone. Mass Effect 2 is most people's favorite, but yeah, they're all great. Mass Effect 1 is a little older, a little harder to get through, but focus on the story, get through it, get right into Mass Effect 2, and you'll that's like 200 hours of pure awesomeness. Stargate is a video game. Yeah, I don't know. But anyways, I love Stargate. Don't get me wrong. I just rewatched SG1 not too long ago. But we're getting a new show. That's the thing. Amazon said they're gonna resuscitate Stargate. I'm happy and I'm depressed about it at the same time because the chances of it being terrible are really strong. But if they give it the same respect that they gave the Fallout series, even though I know there's a lot of problems with people, a lot of hardcore Fallout fans have problem with the lore. Totally respect that. But I think as an entertainment product, the second season of Fallout is really good. First season isn't
I
that
don't
great.
respect them. No, it's great. I fucking loved it.
I didn't like Fallout season 1 that much, but Fallout season 2 I thought was huge
Two,
improvement. They
yeah,
definitely like they fixed some of the problems with Titus's character, who just felt really dumb in the first season, and now they've kind of ironed out the kinks with that guy. And then Lucy and Cooper are fucking awesome. So yeah,
yeah,
love what
so
they're
good.
doing there. Which is what got me to go back and play Fallout New Vegas, which I never played. Anyways, I got completely sidetracked. Sorry.
I'm here for it.
But to get back to Star Citizen, I think a completely polished, unbuggy experience isn't absolutely necessary, and I hate to say that because it's really just a lowering of our own standards. But in order for it to be successful, I think it just has to come out and be an interesting story that works. You know, as long as you don't have a game-breaking bug, I think you know they can stand proud of what they've delivered, and hopefully that gives us. And okay, here's another reason why I want Squadron 42 to come out,
Mhm.
so that they don't have to focus so much on monetization.
Yeah.
And now
What if
this
we
may
just
sound
someone
weird to
just
some of you, but in the past, game studios would find the money to make a game, make the game, sell said game, then use that money to make another game. CIG needs to get onto that path because then you can shut up all the critics who are like, it's just a storefront, star store, whatever they call it, store citizen. Um, shut all those guys up. You can focus on doing more content rather than uh, trying to sell us a monthly bundle or a ship. And, you know, I think the reason why I've brought that up is because of how the Moth release has gone. Right? Everybody's aware that they just dropped the new Argo Salvager in
Mhm.
game, and there's been a lot of upset people because the ship wasn't tested. It's got a lot of pretty bad bugs apparently. I haven't personally tried it out, gone off of just word of mouth, and that is frustrating. And that's when it feels like, well, did you guys do this just to sell some ships, or was there another more interesting or necessary reason for you guys dropping in the middle of a patch with no testing? And so that gets frustrating.
yeah. Yeah, I wonder how much of it is like their own scheduling that they're trying to stick to. Are they trying to do they think that we are all expecting a type of schedule where there's a new ship every month? Because like I'll be honest, like I I've gotten it in my head where I'm kind of like looking to see what the new ship is now. It's not even before it was like, oh, a new ship. Whoa, where'd that come from? Holy crap, that's cool. To now it's like, all right, what's this month's new ship? So I'm wondering how much of it is like the success of that model versus they've already just like set some type of schedule because they need to do that for monetization reasons or some sort of programming that they just decided that they need to be on. I wonder because I'm it's worked on me. If they're trying to brainwash me into thinking that there's a new ship every month, it's working. You know, I'm like looking for it now. Like whether I'm getting it or excited about it or whatever, I'm just kind of I'm like, oh, it's a new month. Like what do we got? What's the store got now? So it is a little bit of everything
So my
probably, but
biggest gripe with that is marketing's great, marketing is necessary, but marketing has its limits. And in 10 years, what do you think the feelings will be of a monthly ship coming out? How many cool, new, unique, interesting ships can they keep coming out with every month for the duration of this game? That's, in my opinion, simply impossible
yeah.
to keep it interesting, right? So at some point, the pivot is going to have to come where they find something else to sell the game on. You know,
Yeah, that's fair.
I'll use World of Warcraft again as an example. the way they've survived for 20 plus years, which is freaking insane, is by a new big patch every 2 years with 2 or 3 major content drops in those 2 year gaps to keep interest going and to keep people playing with something new to do throughout that expansion. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that's how Star Citizen's going to do it, but I'm just saying that's how, because, Worldcraft has the monetization. They were the first. They were the OGs. They were the assholes that were like, you know what, we're going to sell this horse and y'all are going to fucking pay $5 for it. Or it was $3. It was like $3 or $5, I forget. And everyone went fucking ape shit and bought it. And that was the end. Right there. That was the end. Now monetization everywhere. But they don't keep the game alive by releasing a new amount every month, and that's what keeps people playing. It's content driven, right? So the real money comes in because people want to play the game, and then if you want to spend a little bit on the side, that's great. But I think, to go off of that is, so this last year was really important to show that no, we can monetize and deliver on the content. Doesn't always work perfectly, but we can get you new stuff. And once we have a stable baseline for the game, which we're not there yet, and I say that because that stable baseline for the game, for them to truly build off of, will be 1.0 with the 5 systems, with all the features they want to be there at their launch, let's say. And then we know they're going to build off of that, iterate, and create new stuff. To go back to Squadron, and one of the things that has me worried and is potentially a reason it won't come out this year, is we all know that the idea with Squadron 42 and Star Citizen, or at least if you've gone back and looked at like the original Kickstarter and like what was being said they wanted the game to be, is Squadron 42 is supposed to be your introduction to the verse. You're supposed to play through that, and then that dumps you into Star Citizen in the MMO. My worry is I don't think there's any way, if they're releasing Squadron 42 this year, they're going to be able to get in that base game story into Star Citizen. And why do I say this? Because, well, I'm assuming, and again, this is an assumption, but, I think this would make sense, is if they want people to finish Squadron and then get into Star Citizen and get hooked, well, you probably want there to be some sort of beginner experience that's more than the tutorial we have now, which really is just, this is how you turn on a ship, this is how you exit a hangar, all right, have fun, you're on your own. Which is still better than what we had in the past, which was nothing.
It barely works still.
Yeah, that's problematic. But, if logically I would assume that they would want you to finish a full complete story in Squadron and then mosey your way on into the verse with some cool thing you've collected from Squadron that you can now use in Star Citizen, and boom, you're off to the races. But I'm with some story that maybe continues off of what we saw in Squadron. Now there's another problem to what I just said, which is we know they want to do 3 chapters of Squadron 42. So then the question becomes, well, okay, do they want that experience to begin at the end of Squadron Chapter 1 or Chapter 3? So then if they release Chapter 1, do they not give a crap about there being some sort of story in Star Citizen that leads you into the game? Does does that make sense? You see what, the point I'm trying to make is, I don't know how they want.
I don't know about the 3 chapter thing. Explain that.
So Squadron 42, the single player game, there's supposed to be 3 of them. It's supposed to be a 3 chapter
games.
Yeah, I believe that's still the plan. At least that was at one point. I'll look that up later. But at least that's the plan I believe that they had. It is a for sure. It's a chapter release. Not like Squadron 42 is going to come out in 3 parts. It'll be 3 games that come out.
Okay.
So, again, if I'm wrong, tell me in the comments, tell me in chat. But I'm pretty sure. At least that's what I believed for a while. Anyways, yeah, what how do they want which game do they want to tie into Star Citizen, or do they want all of them to tie into Star Citizen? It would make most sense if all of them tied into Star Citizen,
Mhm.
because maybe some people aren't going to hang out for chapter 3 to come out before starting Star Citizen, you
Yeah.
would want them to jump in sooner. So I don't know, I think there's a lot of question marks. I think unfortunately we probably won't know until, well, they decide to release it. That's just kind of reality is.
Yep. No, I didn't think about that. I was like, oh yeah, it, if it's leading right into it, like what are we being led into?
Right.
Just, Nyx with no planets, Pyro, uh, you know, nothing going on in Pyro. Yeah, that is interesting.
Thank you,
I mean,
Dex.
Metroid plans a trilogy with the initial
Yep.
2026 release comprising first full-length game over 40 hours. The project is now fully playable with the team. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know how I missed that.
So there's a lot of stuff you got to go digging for on in Star Citizen.
Yeah. And how much and how deep are you digging
Yeah.
accidentally? Like, are you digging into the past, or are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, I've gotten really in. So there's a couple of streamers and content creators I really appreciate. One of them is Astropub, Astro Historian. His lore videos, if it weren't for him doing lore videos, I don't know if I would have the patience to go looking for all that. So if anybody's interested in Star Citizen lore, go check him out. His YouTube channel is awesome.
Sure will.
I've posted some in the Discord. Um, anyways, yeah, if you like lore, and I love lore in most games, you gotta go check out his channel. So people like that kind of bring the game to life a little bit more than what we have, because it's there, and it's one of my gripes, especially with the ASDs, right? ASDs was kind of their first attempt at, like, okay, here's a story driven stuff. Yeah, but your story's kind of, you really expect us to make an effort to find all the pieces, and that's fine. But a lot of people are just gonna blow right past this. A lot of us blew right past some of the little pieces of lore along the way. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I hope they do a better job of implementing that lore. Like a lot of games, okay, to use Bethesda or Warcraft again, an example, they have books you pick up that you can read that give you lore. Witcher was the same thing. Like, if you loved lore within the game, like, shit, you could spend hours reading those books, that
100%.
explain. Or Skyrim is the same way. Like, when games have that depth and you can get more immersed into the universe, it's really just all positive for that game. So I hope we get around to a bit more of that, even if it's just data pads. But let us. And here's where I always get a little frustrated. Is like, okay, so everybody tells me there's a data pad with this information, but I've never seen it. So where is that thing? Is it easily findable? Is it bugged every time I go there? You know what I mean? Like,
It's bugged every time you go there. Yeah, it's on the floor. You can't pick it up. You have to zoom in and like make out size 6 font or whatever. I'm hoping that they do. I mean, like kind of back to what you're saying about like the tutorial or the introduction for new players. Like, I'm hoping that we get the. I don't know if you was it the Javelin tour that they always have, where you walk onto the ship and there's an NPC that like looks at you and like acknowledges you and then starts delivering like a whole like a curator at a museum. Like he
I
starts
think
delivering.
they did it with the Idris
Was
and the
it the
Javelin. Yeah,
Idris? I
I think
think
they
it
did
was
it
the
with
Idris
both.
of the Javelin, but it was. I remember that was like one of the moments where I like gathered friends. I was like, "Hey, you guys got to watch this. This is crazy." Like the facial animations and the gestures and how he was like looking at you and talking and like the subtle jokes and like that. I was so drawn in. So I mean, I'm I love immersion. I love just sometimes getting lost in the game, but I was sucked in to that whole presentation, walking around the ship, seeing other NPCs that had much more like rigid pathing and like programming, where they were just doing certain things, and they would make talk, and it was so much more refined than like just the standard NPC. But I was ready to stand there and listen to make sure that I heard every single voice line that any of these characters were delivering. If they had something, even a fraction of that engaging for like a tutorial on how to do stuff, or the introduction to the ASD missions as a whole, or whatever, just to get you, I was ready. I had that whole speech like memorized. I was like, I know how many bunk beds there are in the ship now. I know how many, when dinner time is for all the crew, and how many turret gunners there are, because this guy was delivering the information so engagingly to me. And like, it was just, I don't know, it just pulled me in. But they need something like that for these different mission lines and for different tutorials. And I think it just do so much good for people to really get engaged with not only the game, but just like even just small things like, hey, make sure you don't overheat that rock with your mining tool, because this is going to happen, or whatever. Like, just all the little nuancy things that you just don't learn until you go and do those things. I think it would be way more engaging than some little on-screen text that tells you what to do.
I
I think it would be
agree. I
loads.
think there's probably needs to be a mix of that though, and the reason why I say that is because I think it is pretty resource heavy to have
Hmm.
always an NPC delivering a line. One of the things I really loved that they did was having NPCs pop up in your MFDs when you're in a ship. That was
Yeah.
huge. One of those little details that goes a long way towards immersion and making it feel like a finished game. So that was another positive that they brought in. And, going back to what we were talking about at the way beginning of like those little details that they bring in that they don't necessarily talk about, but that when you discover them, just add another layer. Like taking off your helmet, um, stuff like that. It really does
Hmm.
add to the game. So, all right. So, I mean, I think there's a chance that 2026 will be pretty positive again. So,
Hmm.
hopefully that is the case. All right, now, because I never have any guests on here who are true low flyers, we're going to talk about low flying for a second. All right, because I
Let's
want
go.
to get a low flying podcast going once in a while. That'd be nice, like a once a month thing.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
all right, so to all of you who maybe are playing Star Citizen but who don't know, there's a group of us crazy idiots who do a lot of low flying. All right, and what we do is we just try and fly as low as possible for as long as possible, as close to each other as possible. And yes, it's a great idea, and it never ends in disaster. Um, but it's a lot of fun. So Pete and I fly together a lot. We've flown a lot over the last year, because yeah, or how
Hmm.
it's been about a year now, right?
Been
Since
about a year now. Yeah.
um anyways, I never get to talk low flying with other low flyers. So how do you feel low flying's been this last year?
Honestly, low flying is one of the only things that is so, for the most part, very stable. You'll have like little, if the servers are really bad, low flying is slightly worse, if not bad. But regardless of whether party markers are working, or missions are working, or elevators are elevating, or whatever, I feel like I've not had any moments this year where like low flying's felt bad. It's always been fun. I don't think there's really been a whole lot of changes other than kind of migrating from, Stanton to Pyro. You know what I mean? But I mean, I don't know. I feel like low flying is like the one constant that I have, the one through line that will always be something I can do if Star Citizen is not doing what Star Citizen needs to do.
Yeah,
But
no, it's hey, nothing works,
yeah,
let's go low flying. I mean, so many
100%.
times I've done that. But like, okay, with one of the patches we got, when the first one where Nyx became a thing, there was a lot of weirdness with terrain. Like terrain tears, like
Oh yeah,
weird purple mount like walls and stuff like that. So that was a weird time
fair.
for low flying. But I'd say overall in the last year, low flying's been It hasn't gotten better, it hasn't gotten worse, but it's stayed constant as
Hmm.
something you can do. Now, since you mentioned it earlier and you mentioned it again, the desync recently, though, over the last 2, 3 patches, it can be fine or it can be really bad. Like, really bad.
Yeah.
like,
Hmm.
and and even though I feel like there was a big portion of 2025 where like thick air wasn't as much of a problem, man, when it happens, is it's frustrating. It's already hard
Hmm.
enough to low fly. You don't need to add that into our path, the invisible wall we should have seen. CIG. That's not fair.
Right. Right. Yeah, no,
So
it's interesting. Like I totally kind of forgot about like even these past couple weeks, there's been so many texture bugs, like
yeah,
just in general. Like I will go a whole game session, whether I'm low flying or whether I'm doing anything else, where if I go third person, I realize that my armor just looks like Play-Doh and has the whole time. And there's like no reason, or you fly down to Ignis and everything looks like the entire surface of the planet looks like corduroy. Like and then you get this weird aura bubble when you get low to the ground where the textures actually load in like properly, and then everything beyond that like 75-meter radius is just no textures at all. It has been really weird. Like I don't I never really I don't know what that is. Like why that is. You alt F4, you come back. Sometimes it's fixed. Sometimes after a death, it
yeah.
comes back. I don't know. Seems really weird. I don't know how much of that is like Vulcan
So I feel
or
like
what.
Vulcan kind of fixed some stuff, but made other things worse. Like overall,
Yeah.
maybe a more stable FPS, but I've gotten for the first time like screen tears just looking out at like a hangar or like just looking out at the dirt on Ignis or something. I used to never get those. We used to always sometimes get the shadows behind a ship that you're following, like the
Yeah.
clones of itself in a shadow. I feel
Yeah.
like
You get that
see,
smearing kind of.
yeah, like the blur effect got fucked up or something, or the
Yeah.
motion blur just didn't work out. But I feel like that started to become less, and then Nyx came out. I think they're laying the groundworks again for the next level of tech they're going to add in, which is the Genesis system. It's Genesis, right?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Genesis. Yep.
so there is probably a little bit of change that happened there, but overall, low flying stays stable. One thing I would like for them to do is, and I think they could apply this to racers and low flyers because we have to admit we're one of the smallest minorities in Star Citizen. like
Hmm.
low flyers, we are a rare breed. There are more
Yep.
people racing, I think, than people who low fly. Um, but it would be nice if we had a mode that catered to racing and low flying.
Yeah.
Like, tweak flight mode, not nav mode where you're using your quantum, but the flight mode that some of us still go into. I know others are now low flying in gun mode or SCM mode.
Hmm.
I still go to flight mode,
Yeah.
but
Same.
I think if we had a mode, if you guys are, you're dead set on keeping master modes, which fine, but if we could have something that caters towards racers and low flyers, you
Hmm.
know, something that automatically turns off our gravity compensation when we go into that mode, that
Yeah.
maybe you can set whether you want your throttle to be more responsive or less responsive. Less responsive because you're flying in a group, so you don't want to be super twitchy, and then more responsive when you're flying unlimbed and solo and trying to avoid things. Like if I had some kind of control on that, that would mean the world to me as a low flyer, honestly.
Hmm.
Because I just get frustrated with the
With managing the controls and like what things you're able to buy, and the one thing that's frustrating to me is when they like change. We were talking about this the other day. I think Dex and I were talking about it, like the Mandela effect of Star Citizen features that just slowly fade away to the point where you're like, wait, was that a thing? Like being able to jump together,
oh
right?
yeah,
Like
we were all
quantum jump
trying to
in
do that the
groups.
other night.
Yeah, yeah, you were there too. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're trying to jump together, and then I can't. What were some other things? There were just so many little, like I don't know. I feel like it used to be easier to change your speed limiter. It used to be easier to, you know, I mean, like, yeah, power triangle is one thing that popped into my head. I've grown to like the pip system more because it's a lot more versatile and stuff. But like, it played well into like control schemes and like our joysticks or what, even mouse and keyboard and stuff, like so much better. It just felt like they made things slightly more complicated or harder to do, maybe inadvertently, but I don't know. I mean, there's already 1.5 million keybinds in Star Citizen, but I would love
Yeah.
personally more better camera controls.
So I
I
will
love the
say
camera
the one thing that
controls that we
drives me the
have.
craziest with the camera controls we have is how when you set the camera in third person somewhere, if an NPC or somebody walks through it,
The
they
clipping.
hit the camera and it moves, and it's just that drives me crazy. Other than
Oh
that,
my
I
god,
think I'm
we're
okay
hitting the
with it.
ground. The one thing I would like is the advanced camera feature. Like, advanced camera controls are only keyboard bound, so like I can't, for
Yeah, I see what you
instance,
mean.
bind increase or decrease FOV with like a joystick or something like that. That would make things so much nicer, and it would benefit them because, you know, low flyers are the best uh uh I mean, we
No, you
make
can
the
say
most
we're the
cinematic
best. No, I
looking
agree with that
videos.
statement.
We're the best. Yeah,
We're
we're the
just the
best
best. Oh, it's fine.
ever. No. No, but I mean, like, we're in for like some of the coolest looking content, you know, per capita. When you know, when we're filming and stuff like this, like, I'm literally just staring at the background of the stream right now, and I'm trying not to tilt my head as I'm as I'm watching. but like, but I mean, like, you know, just it would pay off in dividends, like if we had better camera controls. But that's just, you know, the little things like that. But yeah, no, like, I agree, having more control over the ship, like having a different flight mode, something in between nav and SCM or whatever, or yeah, like you said, just having a different sensitivity of your controls too. Like, if you entered into maneuverability mode or some shit, like something. Yeah, I think there's a lot that could be done for sure.
I
I want
already. Hmm?
I really want like missions uh
With a
that
ceiling, like a flight ceiling, like you have to stay on.
yes,
Yes,
dude.
100%,
100%,
absolutely.
because like there's so to be if you really think about it, if you play the game in the most efficient way, you barely fly your ship. The extent of anyone's flying is just landing. It's approach and land, and that's like most of it. Or you're in a dogfight, right?
Hmm.
But like truly flying around, like some people, like there's people out there that do low flying not because they know that they're low flying. They're just like, I really just want to fly my fucking spaceship. And like, what better place to do it than near the ground, right? And
Hmm.
soon enough, they're low flying and they don't even know it. But like, there is just so much good stuff in flying your ship low to the ground, and I mean, they try to capitalize on it with racing. Um, but even that, it's like those are kind of, I mean, racing is really, really cool, but even that is like, it's pretty much just time trials in a very static location, super small, when it could just be so much more. Like, yeah, flight ceiling, a mission where you have to get to the ASD facility, but you can only jump, or you know, it's sort of like the storm on Pyro 1 for the worm,
So,
right?
do
Like,
you
you can't just
remember?
fly straight to it.
Do you
You got to get,
remember what we saw at Citizen Con last year?
oh, the trench run.
Or the Death Star? I mean, sorry, the trench run. Or I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, right, right.
The
The trough run,
there
or
you go.
the tube run. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Shooting wall. Yeah, no.
What?
That will be the first mission with something that that we low
Yeah.
flyers should theoretically excel at.
Mm-hmm.
Flying through those
No, you're
tunnels,
right.
um, shooting those things. That I can't wait for us slow flyers to be like, hold my beer. That'll be great.
These pilot Jews.
Exactly. But I think, yeah, more missions like that where people who love racing or low flying can get their fill. Absolutely, 1,000%.
Because then
Illegal street
dropships
racing,
become
yes.
things too, even like in a mission with a flight ceiling. It's like, okay, you can't drop in within 50 kilometers of this thing. Maybe you got to fly low to get there, or a ground vehicle is actually required, or something like that. It just a little tweak that would open up
Yeah,
so much
I
more, like
I agree.
people's appreciation for ships. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then, you know, a lot of people complain when we went to master modes. I don't think the flight model we have right now is that bad. I still miss the old flight model. I think there are some really big positives that came in master modes. I've talked about it before. I think it was really good for new players to have these switches they can hit that slow them way down, like going from nav
Mm-hmm.
to SCM as a lifesaver for so many people, or the automatic slow you down when you put your landing gear down. I'm sure a lot of people have avoided death thanks to those things, right? But at the same time, I do want us to have maybe a bit more control like we used to, um, with the last, you know, the previous version of the flight system. Now I know there's tweaks coming. I know they're gonna redo a lot of it, and I know atmospheric and controls surfaces are coming in. That's gonna change the game a lot. So
Mm-hmm.
um, we'll have to see how that makes everything feel. But yeah, overall, I think low fly is still solid. But I would
Yeah.
love to low fly around Hurston, like in the city. I would love to be able to low fly 18,
Mm-hmm.
zoom past the trams as people. Like, how cool would that make
So sick.
when if you have people racing through, or just fucking around, flying around these towers as people are going about their day, getting their gear, going to the TDD. You hear two arrows just go roaring over. Like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I understand why they have to keep that clean, that area, because also, it could be a disaster. Two arrows hit, one goes flies into the market. You kill three players. It's not ideal, but it's a sim. It
Yeah,
should.
there's a crime stat involved, right? You didn't
Yeah,
turn off the comm array before you went illegal street racing. Like, what do you expect?
that totally. Or uh, space coppers are coming after you, and you're going
Hmm.
on a chase through Area 18. Yeah, I'm so fucking down. Um, you can do some around New Babbage because you can get to the Christmas tree. So it does allow you to low fly some parts of the city, but not all
Sir, there's been a
of them.
second.
But yeah, I think things like that, I mean, would be great. But again, I understand we're a very small niche minority group within Star
Hmm.
Citizen. So I don't know if we'll get to that. We might have to, team up with the racers to petition CIGs. Like, we want better, please.
I think it's possible. Shout out to Flo when he got the Chris Roberts blessing,
Yeah, that was so
and
great.
that was really cool, like I don't know. I think there's I think yeah, I think we're loud enough. There's a lot of people that are jumping in. We've had so many new, like, myself included. I didn't really low fly until this year. I did a little bit way back in the day, but like there's been so many new people that will just drop in either into Simpleton's Discord or through my stream or wherever, that are just like, they want to low fly. Like, that's what they're there for. Like, they just get at it and they're getting really good. I don't know. I think it's a thing. It's definitely a thing. We're a thing. You know,
Yeah, I
we
think
we matter.
you know our Lord and Savior Roberts acknowledged us. We have proof, video proof, thanks to Flo, that he cares about low flyers. So
Hmm.
please, Lord Roberts, can we have some cool stuff? It's
Right,
like-
right, right, right. Just a little bit.
It's just we'll even like make us grind to like buy a license to low fly in a city. Fuck, I'll do it, no problem.
Yep.
Um, I'm all for that. But all right, we're gonna do one last little Bezos moment before we say our thank yous, our goodbyes, and our last thoughts, and then yeah, I just want to say another big thank you to Pete. If you haven't dropped him a follow yet, you're an asshole. And no, I'm kidding. You should though. I'm
Good.
calling him out. Sorry. All right. Well, have any final thoughts on Star Citizen low flying
I think
squadron?
everyone should low fly. That's my thoughts. I think, like we said, it's the most constant
It's the
uh
only thing that
way to have
works
fun.
90% of the time. It works
I c- I
100% of the
can't
time.
I can't burn out on low flying. I can burn out on clanging boxes in the back of my Corsair for, you know, supply or die, but
Yeah.
I can sniff dirt all day.
It's fun, honestly, and then it can be a frustrating thing to get a handle on, but once you start to chain together a couple good runs, it's so rewarding. So rewarding.
Yep.
420, it's you can low fly any ship. We've low flown Polarises. I don't know if I've ever low flown an Idris. I don't think I have, but definitely
I've
Polaris.
been around in Idris, Idrises are a fun little playground
Yeah.
when they're out there for sure.
But you can low fly pretty much anything. Arrows are cheap in game. Just buy an arrow. That's probably the best one to get into low flying with because it's so
Without a doubt.
agile. Oh, wait. Sorry. We have one last thing to talk about because I completely forgot about it. We're in a free fly right now.
We are.
We are. I
And I
didn't.
kind of keep forgetting until
Yeah.
I'm like, the servers feel a little chunky
Yes.
today. Why do they suddenly feel chunky?
I was going to say, you realize you're in a free fly when you go, the servers are extra shit. What's going on? Like, this isn't normal. I feel like something's off. But yeah, that's one thing I forgot to mention. We are in a free fly. And for those of you who don't know what a free fly is, it's when you get to play the game for free. Pretty self explanatory, but and it typically comes with an increase to the player base. Obviously, people can come and play for free. And it typically brings with it server instability. Because, well, there's so many more people trying to play for free. Now, in the same spirit of what we were talking about with last year, free flies used to be terrible times, and it would be the only times where regular Star Citizen players would actually take a break from the game because they
Yeah,
didn't want to deal with that.
they skip it.
They'd skip the game for a week and then come back once it was over. Now it's gotten much better. There's much more stability with free flies than there used to be, but it's still not ideal. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I wasn't. It's funny. I think even on a stream last week, I was like, "Why does the game feel so weird? What's going on?" And it
Yeah, I
was the free
forgot.
fly. Yeah, it was the free fly.
Yep.
So it is what it is. I think it's great that we do free flies in this game. I think it's awesome to drive interest in the game, give people a chance to experience anything and everything, um, and not have to pay any money and or feel like they have to get it. You it's a pretty good tool, I think, for them.
Yeah.
Even
Some people a week is like a perfect amount of time for someone to like really just be able to get in and like see at least enough of a picture of what they could be getting into should they decide to purchase.
yeah, and a lot of people do end up picking it up. So, in case you're thinking of picking it up, does that actually work? Nope, it doesn't. Never mind. Or was it? Is it? There you go. I found it. Good old referral code. But no. I I don't know, man. Sometimes I wonder why they choose the times they do to do the free fly, because it feels like it's just the wrong moment to do it. Like right now, I don't know if it was the best moment to do a free fly. There's not really, there's the in-game event of Alliance Day, but there's nothing around it to make it more interesting, like an Invictus, an IAE, a Sitcon. So it's just kind of like a, all
I
right,
didn't know it was happening till the day of.
yeah,
Like I had no. I was like, oh, I did. Yeah, had no idea. I was telling people, I was, yeah, it's $45 to get the game, and someone was like, do the free flies right now. I was like, oh, never mind, go try it.
yeah,
Yeah, I had no clue. Usually it's in line with some sort of event, like you were saying. So it is kind of strange. Seems a little lackluster, but
which is good. We get like 3, 4 free flies a year. I mean, depending on how you look at it, but um, for people who are looking to see how the game's progressing and if they want to try, it's a great tool. I really love the fact that CIG still does that. You know, it gives them some brownie
yeah,
points. That's for sure.
big
Um,
time.
but yeah, free fly plus event equals mega lag, and yes, it's definitely been desynchy.
Hmm. And only the
Absolutely.
veteran players are prepared, ready for it, and will just either ignore it, like skip out on it, or just fight past it because they already know that they're playing Star Citizen. So it kind of makes for a weird new player experience. I'm always like, I wish there was a different way to do this where someone could just play for free when nobody's when there isn't a free fly going on, so they don't have a lagging
Because yeah,
experience.
no, what gets people in the games most of the time is they have a buddy that's playing a game that's excited about it. You're like, okay, you know what, I could try it out. Yeah, let me see. And so I'm gonna use World of Warcraft as an example again, or actually no, Final Fantasy 14 is also a good example. They both allow you to play the game up until a certain level for free with your friends, and for me, that is just a great way to get people into a game because
Yeah,
this is a game best played with friends. Let's be honest, even though you can play it solo. Um, and being able to bring in your buddy when it's the best time for them and for you is a lot nicer than this set 3 or 4 times a year for a week you
yeah.
can try it. And maybe at that point you don't have an interest in space game. Maybe at that point you're playing some
You're on your
gotcha game.
Minecraft kick.
You're playing Hytale, you're playing Minecraft, you're
Hmm.
playing Arc Raiders, whatever it may be, and you're not in the mood for a space game. And so, yeah, that might be one of the only things I could honestly criticize about Free Fly, which isn't even a criticism. It's just maybe it's better to do it this other way. I think this has worked for CIG so far, so
Yeah,
I think I'm just picking at straws. But I mean, besides the fact that it does kill that server performance, I think
mm,
it's a great idea.
yeah. It needs to be done.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a net positive.
absolutely. But
I
okay,
think it'd
all
be
right.
cool if there was more like referral, like maybe instead of reaching Grand Admiral and getting a shiny arc light pistol, maybe
Mm-hmm.
you got 3 giftable uh starter packages or something that you could use as a giveaway, or just give to your friends or whatever. More ways to spread the joy.
Well, there's a thing that some indie games have been doing, which is if you buy the copy, you can give a copy to your friend and play together, or
Perfect.
people can play the game through you. Like, that's not for every game. It doesn't make sense for every game, but I think as a referral bonus, I wouldn't worry too much. But then you're gonna have all the people go, "Oh yeah, but all the streamers are gonna get it, not us normies or whatever." People like go talk
Yeah.
about that. I try to stay out of those conversations, but that's a thing. Um, I think with the referral, I think that, well, they definitely did it better than Ashes. That's for sure, because they're
That
still
goes without
around.
saying. Right, right.
But I think it kind of, that's a decision they'll have to make at some point. But again, if they're making enough money, if people are still engaging in the game and people are still interested and new players are coming in, then they don't necessarily need to make any change. You know what I mean? Because, why change something that already works? Yeah, hard to fault them
That's
for
kind
that.
of where I land. That's kind of where I
Yeah.
land. I'm like, man, it might upset you that they sold a different variant of the Hornet Mark II, but shit, dude, that just means more money, and hopefully, as long as they're using that money for good
Yeah, and
for
that's
all
the
of us,
thing.
then
As long
shit.
as it feeds the content and the development, which, I always like to remind people because they go, oh man, 900 million on just Star Citizen and still not. I was like, well, it's more complicated than that. We do have something we can actually play, and it's not just Star Citizen. It's Star Citizen plus Squadron plus. Um, why am I blanking on the name of the engine? The Star Engine. Thank you.
Star
Sorry.
Engine, yeah,
Um, it's all three of those things, and that's how much money they've raised from backers, and we know they've had private investment, which I think is somewhere around 50 to 100 million in private investment. Um, it's actually funny because Ashes copied how Star Citizen did their Kickstarter, which is
mm,
the idea behind the Kickstarter wasn't to completely fund the game through that. It was to show investors there was enough interest through backers to then
yeah,
get the additional funds to fund the game. Ashes did the same thing. Some people got out better than others.
hmm
And so right now, Star Citizen is an oddity. Uh, when did
it
SC
is.
first come out? Well, the first iteration of Star Citizen was the Hangar, which I think came out in 2015 or 16.
Yeah, it might have been
Um,
15 or early 16, I think.
yeah. I've been playing since 21 or 20. No, yeah, end of 21, I think. And Pete was telling us earlier that he had followed the game for a while, and then what was it? The first year, you think?
Yeah,
2016.
2016. According to my hanger, my Mustang Alpha was purchased in 2016, which I think the only thing I was able to do was take off from Port Olisar and like fly around Port Olisar. That was it. There was a planet, but you couldn't go to it. It was just like you could see Hurston, but that was it. Or maybe Crusader. Shit, I don't remember. But yeah.
It was a long time ago. Nobody
It's a
blames
JPEG.
you.
Yeah.
But yeah, the game's definitely its own thing. So yeah, we hope it gets finished. They should have the funding to finish it.
Oh
I
yeah.
have to admit they've been pretty reasonable in how they manage their money. I still have so many gripes with the offices in Manchester, but you know what? Hold my tongue on that one. I already did an entire video about it, so I'm not doing that again. But
Let them eat
um,
cake, you know? They
no.
here's one thing I will say. If there's one person I don't want to be in the shoes of, it's anyone that works for CIG. I
Uh,
wouldn't want to be in their shoes.
yeah, I would. No, I think I would. I mean, if I had that lunchroom, then my
True.
offices look like that. I mean, I'd have, you know. No, I'm kidding. I'm being mean. But no, I think I don't envy CIG leadership at all, and I think there's been plenty of times where they've made very questionable decisions. Sometimes decisions that, at least from the outside, seem outright. Let's stay polite. Questionable. um, but I think credit where credit's due. Hats off to them. They've kept the boat afloat for 14 years. 2012 was when they first announced this project, I believe.
still still doesn't not hurt, you
Or
know?
2014, I'm sorry. No, 2012 or 24. Anyways, I think development actually started on the game in like late 2013, 2014.
Yeah, I
So,
think so.
anyways, the point is, it's been a long time, but they're still going. They're making more money than ever, which is insane to think that an unfinished game is generating that much money just off of the MMO and the promise of another game, which will be here soon. TM. Um, that is insane, but so far especially if we look back at the last year, they're they're delivering. So as long as we keep going and reminding ourselves that what we see now is not what we'll have in 2 years, 4 years, 6 years. Everything will be improved, iterated upon, assuming funding doesn't dry up. So there's a lot of things to be positive about. Obviously, they deserve criticism on certain things, but you know, all in all, as a whole, as long as you don't get pigeonholed into just looking at Star Citizen for and not looking around at the rest of the industry of gaming, you can start to get pretty salty about stuff. But man, every time I stick my head out of the Star Citizen hole and I look around, I go, "Wow, it's a mess around here."
Yeah.
It's a
Uh
mess.
huh.
You know, Call of Duty had its worst year since the beginning of the franchise. All AAA's this last year basically kind of failed, except for Battlefield 6, which was the surprise. Arc Raiders
Yeah.
came out of nowhere and blew everybody away, took over the extraction shooter genre. Funny enough, Tarkov got its 1.0 before Star Citizen. Hilarious. Uh, no, I mean, I think last year was a bad year for AAA and it was a great year for indies. And here's to another great year of indie projects. And hopefully, Star Citizen can, CIG can come out on top of that with a great Squadron 42 that is coming this year. You
It
hear
is.
us?
You heard it here.
It's coming this year. Come on, Chris.
You heard it here.
I will say three Holy Roberts in the mirror later if it helps. But
Mm-hmm. Did you pledge your ship this month? I don't know. Gotta
oh
get your
man,
monthly pledge in.
I monthly buy stuff for the giveaway, so I've spent too
There
much
you go.
money in this game. But all right, well, Pete, thanks again for joining. That was a lot of fun. Thanks for chatting.
Dude, my pleasure.
We'll do this
Absolutely.
again soon. I'm gonna talk to the other low flyers, try to get a little low fly podcast going,
Like
and
that.
yeah, we'll do this again soon. I've got to figure out another podcast. All right, everybody, say thank you to Pete. We're gonna see him very soon. We'll let him get his stream started while we talk shit and do some raffles real quick. But yeah, everybody, big thank you to Pete. But all right, everybody, we'll let Pete get his stream started. I'm gonna switch scenes, and yeah,